For today's Bookmas video, I would like to talk about my most anticipated releases for 2025 because 2024 is so close to being over, like this close. There are so many new book releases that I am looking forward to in the new year and I want to share them with you. In case you don't already know, I post new releases videos every single month to talk about the upcoming releases that I am looking forward to that are coming out in the month ahead. In this video, I wanted to talk about a general 2025 book list in which I discuss new releases from my favourite authors, some sequels I'm interested in, some prequels that were a bit of a surprise, and some books that are finally coming out after having been kind of in limbo for years. Let me talk you through them. I think I've got about 30 or so. Let me just refresh. 33 most anticipated releases for 2025. Let's get started. I have tried to group these new releases into monthly categories, but some of them might be a little bit off, and obviously some of these release dates might change because I'm recording this so far in advance, but let's just give it our best shot. The first one I would like to talk about is Mother of Rome. This is a historical fiction mythology kind of book about the mother of the twins Romulus and Remus, who were said to have founded Rome. So previously the mother of the two of them, I don't even know if she had a name in the original mythology, but she was only really spoken about in relation to her sons. But this is a mythological retelling which is focusing on her, like a lot of mythology retellings tend to do nowadays. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I am really interested in Roman history, and I'm very intrigued by how the story of Romulus and Remus came to be. And obviously it all started with their mother, in theory. So I'm looking forward to this one. This one's coming out on the 7th of January. The Last Room on the Left. This one is a horror mystery thriller. I think this is like an isolated mystery. So it says here that the caretaker at an isolated mountain hotel finds herself fighting for her life and sanity. It says that it's a feminist take on The Shining. It says Carrie's life is in shambles, her husband has left her, her drinking habit has officially become a problem. Though the deadline for her big book deal is looming, she can't write a word. She hunkers down in a blizzard and finds a dead body, and I guess things kick off from there. I think this one sounds really interesting. I really like mountain settings for thrillers, so I'm looking forward to this. We Rip the World Apart. This one is historical fiction. It's set in Canada, and it's about a 24-year-old called Karila who finds out that she's pregnant, and she's not sure that she wants the baby. And I think she is struggling with being mixed race in the 80s, I believe. I hate that the 80s is classed as historical fiction, just as a side note, but it is. And I think it's about the main character deciding what to do about the pregnancy and also finding more about her link to her Jamaican heritage. So this one does sound interesting to me, so I'd like to read it. Babylonia is coming out in 2025. I don't know if this is the paperback copy or if it's being published in a different country, because it did come out somewhere in 2024. But again, this is one that I would really like to read, and someone is publishing it in 2025. This is by the author of Clytemnestra, which I haven't read, but I am really intrigued by, again, Assyrian Empire's history and Babylon in particular. I just find that entire thing so fascinating. So I'd really like to read a fiction book about it. I think this is like a mixture of mythology and actual history, and I'm really looking forward to it. A Language of Dragons. Everyone is loving dragon books at the moment. I am no exception. So this is set in the real world in London initially, I think in 1923, and there are dragons just like flying about. The tagline is "Welcome to Bletchley Park with dragons," and I live near Bletchley Park, so I'm so intrigued by this. It's a debut as well, and I love supporting debut authors. It says here that there are protests happening, the main character's parents get arrested and her sister goes missing, and so the main character Viv feels like the world is collapsing around her. She is given a mysterious job at Bletchley Park, and she discovers that she has been recruited to be a code breaker to help with the war effort. So it seems as though she is trying to figure out the language of dragons, which is where the title comes in, obviously. And I don't know, I'm just really hyped for this one. I'm going to see if it's on NetGalley. Otherwise, I'll request it from the library and pick it up as soon as I can. A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrian Young. This one is a mystery thriller sort of thing. It's meant to be haunting and atmospheric, as most of Adrian Young's books are supposed to be. I've not read any or many at all, but I have had my eye on them for a while, to be fair to me. It says here that a young woman is investigating her brother's death because it's been very mysterious. I think they were twins and Johnny was killed, and so the main character has to go back to her rural hometown and figure out what happened to her brother. This is only a short one. It's only 288 pages according to Goodreads, so a really quick one to read. and I would really like to read it if it is as atmospheric as people are saying. All the Water in the World. I love this cover. So this is being likened to Station 11, which I assume means that it's like post-apocalyptic climate changey fiction. It says here that it's a literary thriller set partly on the roof of New York's Museum of Natural History in a flooded future. I don't really want to read the synopsis of this one. I don't really feel the need to. If you would like to, go and look it up. But I like dystopia, cli-fi, all that kind of thing, so I'd like to read this. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. This is Grady Hendrix's new book. I discovered recently that I really enjoy books about witches, and that's what this one is. So I think it's about a school or like a home for girls who have like problems, and those are like witchy power problems. It says here that 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970. She is pregnant and terrified and alone. There's also Rose, who is a hippie, and Zinnia, who is a budding musician, and Holly, who is a wisp of a girl barely 14 who's been pregnant by no one knows who. Together they get given a book about occult witchcraft, and I guess they get into it, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The In-Between Bookstore. I picked this one just because I really like the cover and I like the title. So this is queer fantasy, and I think it covers time travel or focuses on time travel. It says here that it's a whimsical and healing novel about a trans man in New York who, almost 30, laid off, broke, moves back into his small Illinois hometown. He walks into a bookstore he used to work out in high school and slips through time to come face to face with his pre-transition teenage self. That was a really long sentence, but it does sound really interesting to me, I think. It's not got the highest rating on Goodreads, but 3.83 isn't too bad, and not many people have read it yet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully reading this one. And then lastly, just for January, we have Onyx Storm. I'm sure you're all wondering when I was going to bring this up. Onyx Storm is coming out on the 21st of January. After I'm back from my holiday to Australia, so that's very exciting. I was considering booking the day off for it, because last time when Iron Flame came out, I coincidentally had the day off on release day, but I don't think I'm going to do that this time because Iron Flame was a massive disappointment and a waste of my time. So I'm hoping Onyx Storm is going to be better if I don't take the day off, just because this is my logic. I don't want to jinx it. So this is the third book in the Fourth Wing series. I'm really curious to know what happens in this one after the ending of the second book. I have recapped the first two books in the series, and I'm planning on recapping this as soon as I can, which is kind of why I want the day off as well, so that I can read it really quickly, but I'm not going to get too hyped up because I might be disappointed in this. So yeah, that's coming out on the 21st of January. Okay, and moving on to February 2025. The first one I am excited for is Whiteout. This is about a researcher who becomes stranded in Antarctica, and she receives a message saying that a nuclear war has broken out. And so I think this turns into a bit of a like survival thriller where she's isolated, really needs help but can't get any because there's something going on with everyone else. And she actually has family in the outside world, away from Antarctica. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I don't know if it's going to turn into a bit of a like, is there really nuclear war, or is someone like radioing in and making it up? I really enjoy survival thrillers. Like I said, I like thrillers set in like snowy mountain settings. So yeah, really looking forward to this one, and I'm gonna see if I can get it from NetGalley. The Bones Beneath My Skin. This was previously self-published by TJ Klune, but now it's being traditionally published. I think this is queer fantasy. It says here that in the spring of 1995, Nate Cartwright has lost everything. His parents are dead, his older brother wants nothing to do with him, and he has been fired from his job. With nothing left to lose, he returns to his family's summer cabin outside the small mountain town of Roseland, Oregon. And then inside is a man named Alex. Just randomly, I suppose. And with him is an extraordinary little girl who calls herself Artemis Darth Vader, which is a name that I would pick for myself if I had been able to choose my name when I was a child. So I think it's about like this special girl and then the two guys trying to look after her and protect her from people who probably want to kill her for her powers or something. I really like the sound of this one, so I'm definitely gonna pick it up. Deep End by Ali Hazelwood is coming out in February. This is about a diver and a swimmer, and it's like a college romance. I assume it's like enemies to lovers. It's a sports romance, and I don't normally love those, but because it's Ali Hazelwood, I'm going to give it a go. And also it's not about like football or soccer or basketball or any of those things, and swimming romance might be a bit more my thing, so I'm keen to give this a go. A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. She is one of my all-time favourite authors. I love all of her books. This is her third adult mystery. It says that it's about a woman called Theodora who is invited to her wealthy fiance's family retreat, and she discovers a hidden secret. So this is like rich people drama in an isolated setting, and it's by Kate Alice Marshall, so I'm convinced I'm going to love it. I cannot wait. This is coming out on the 4th of February. I'm not going to read the whole synopsis because I don't do that for thrillers. I like going in knowing next to nothing, but yeah, it just sounds really good, and I wonder if where their retreat is, maybe that's like a snowy mountain setting, since it's called A Killing Cold. Fingers crossed. This sounds like I'm going to love it. Listen to Your Sister. This is a horror book. It says that it's for fans of Stranger Things, The Other Black Girl, and Jordan Peele's films, and it's also a debut book. As you can see by the cover, it looks like this is like a mountain woodland cabin setting, which I, like I keep saying, I love. It says here that 25-year-old Calla Williams is struggling since becoming guardian to her brother Jamie. She is overwhelmed and tired and is trying to keep the family together, and she is being haunted by something called the Nightmare, which means that Calla is getting recurring images of her brothers dying that she is powerless to stop. This sounds so interesting, really creepy, and I would really like to read it. Rebel Witch. This is the sequel to The Crimson Moth or Heartless Hunter, whichever country you're in. I haven't read the first one, but I wanted to put this on the list to make myself read the first and then get to this one. And I know that a lot of people are probably interested in this, so that's why it's here. Something in the Walls. This is another horror book, and it's kind of giving me like yellow wallpaper vibes. It says here that it incorporates folklore somehow. Main character comes across a 13-year-old who says she is being haunted by a witch, and that's tying in with like my witchy thing that I've got going on at the moment, so really interested in this. Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. Again, this is one of my favourite authors. This is another thriller by her. She always adds like a little bit of a twist to her thrillers, and that's why I find them so interesting. I already have an arc of this one, so I'd like to read this maybe while I'm in Australia so that I can post a video review ASAP. It says here that on the longest day of the year, 21st of June, the life of new mother Camilla is about to change forever. After months of maternity leave, she will drop her infant daughter at daycare for the first time and return to her job as a literary agent. But when she wakes, her husband isn't there, and in his place is a cryptic note. Sounds great. And then we're into March. The first one here is When the Bones Sing. This is by the author of Dark and Shallow Lies, which is a teen horror book, and this one is also teen horror. It's like a gothic supernatural thriller horror sort of thing about a girl who can hear the bones of the dead. And I really like the author's first book, and this one has been a long time coming, but I'm really looking forward to giving this one a go. Our Infinite Fates. This is like a fantasy romance, I think, but not a romantasy, which is slightly different. And it's basically a fantastical love story about a couple who keep reincarnating and I think have to keep finding each other in different lives throughout the centuries, and I love that so much, so that's why this one's on the list. I just think it sounds great. They Bloom at Night. This is a YA horror book, and look at the cover. The cover is the reason I put this on the list. It says in this book, a red algae bloom has taken over Mercy, Louisiana. Ever since a devastating hurricane, mutated wildlife lurks in the water that rises by the day. This author's books sound really good, and her covers are always fantastic, so I would really like to read them. Sunrise on the Reaping, which I'm a bit hesitant to read because I didn't love Songbirds, but I've put this on the list anyway because I really like the Hunger Games, so that's why this one's here. This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. I love this author's stuff. I've read 2 out of 3 of her currently released thriller books. I know that she's releasing romance books as well, but I've not read those yet. I'd really like to, and I'd like to do a video where I focus on her books and decide which one I like the best, but I haven't gotten around to that yet, but hopefully that will be coming in the new year. This is another thriller book about 5 amateur sleuths who are hunting for an elusive killer, so I think they're some true crime fans or something and they're getting involved in the case, so I'm fully invested. Okay, and then some of my favourite authors are bringing out books in April, which is really great timing for me, although this one might also be March. Goodreads isn't very clear. At some point in those 2 months, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping is coming out, and this is by the author of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which I absolutely love. I gave that one 5 stars, and this one is another book by this author. It's also meant to be an enchanting novel, also about a witch. It says here that it's about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track. She was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain, then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead and lost most of her magic. I loved this author's other witchy book, like I said, so I'm really keen to read this one. I think it sounds really good, and I think it's also going to be super cute and cozy and just lovely. Abby Jimenez Jimenez's new book is coming out in April as well. I have an arc of this one, it's called Say You'll Remember Me, and hopefully by the time you're watching this I will have already read it and loved it. This is a contemporary romance book. Her books are normally quite, they deal with dark things. I wouldn't necessarily call them dark, but they deal with like deeper topics than just like a pure romance book. So I'm expecting this one to upset me, but also to be really, really good. I don't even know what it's about other than that the male love interest is a veterinarian. I'm going to love it, I just know I am. And then Beth O'Leary is bringing out a book called Swept Away, and it's about a woman who gets lost at sea with her one night stand, which is hilarious. This is a contemporary romance author who also deals with like heavy and deeper topics than just like pure romance. So I'm a bit nervous about this because I think it's going to upset me, not because I think I'm not going to like it, I think I'm going to love it. I always really enjoy her books, and I'm wondering where this one ranks on the list for me because I think The No Show is still my favourite by her. And then we have Rewind It Back by Liz Tom Ford coming out in April. This is Rio and Hallie's romance book. I've not read the 4th book in this series yet, but I would like to get around to it soon, and then obviously get to this one when it's out. I've just got one for May at the moment because at this point in time there aren't too many books announced for the latter half of the year. Obviously we know more about the new releases in the first quarter of the year than the rest of the year, and that will be the case until we get closer to the release dates. So I've only got one for May, and that is The Knight and the Moth. This one is by the author of One Dark Window, which I haven't read. But I've heard is really, really good. This one is also a romantic gothic book. It says here that it's a tale of a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. No idea what's going to happen here, but I think it's going to be really good, and I want to try and read One Dark Window before I read this to get a vibe for her writing, and then I might pre-order this if I love One Dark Window, which I'm really hoping that I will. Then we've got 2 for June. We have The Notorious Virtues by Alwyn Hamilton, and I've loved her books in the past. This one has taken absolutely forever to come out, but I've been waiting, and it's so close to being here. This is about a young girl or teenager who is an heiress to a small fortune. Her family controls money and magic across the entire country. So she's from a very powerful family and is used to being the centre of attention. However, she has always felt like an outsider. And then her mother is killed. And I guess things kick off from there. I cannot wait to read this one. I can wait because I have been waiting for ages, but I'm so excited for this one, and we're so close, I just want it now. Human Rights by Juno Dawson is meant to be coming out in June or July. I don't know if this is just a placeholder date, but it's the 3rd book in Her Majesty's Royal Coven series, which I have been really enjoying so far. I've read the first 2 books, and hopefully by the time you're watching this I will have read the novella as well, and I'll be up to date. So this one, yeah, it's about witches and a coven and dark stuff happening, demons and stuff, so looking forward to getting my hands on this one. And then we've got 2 books for August. One is from one of my auto-buy authors, Stacey Willingham. It's called Forget Me Not. Normally she releases books around February, January time, but in 2025 I guess her book has been pushed back a little bit, maybe she needed longer on it. So this is a southern thriller book. I think this is about a main character whose sister disappeared a few years ago, and I guess things start coming back around. She starts looking into the disappearance a bit more. Again, it's a thriller by an auto-buy author, so I won't read the synopsis too much, but I'm really looking forward to this. Also in August we have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. I don't know if I'll be reading this one because I'm not a massive fan of her books after The Burning God, but I've also not read her more recent stuff, so maybe I would like it. But this is about 2 academic rivals at Cambridge University, and I don't know if I can be bothered to read about that. But it's about them travelling to hell to rescue their advisor, so maybe it'll be interesting. I'm probably going to wait for some reviews and see what it's like before I actually pick it up, but yeah, I might do. And then finally, my most anticipated release of the year, overall, like my absolute most anticipated, is the sequel to The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. It's not got a title, it's not got a cover, but this is the 2nd book in the series, which follows a retired pirate who kind of gets dragged back into the game, essentially. It's a lot of fun. It's got like found family. It's got a really interesting potential romance ship that I really enjoy. It's really funny. It features an older character who is a mother as well, and I just really love it. It's got pirates, so of course I really want to read this. She is one of my all-time favourite authors. I just love her books so much, and I'm really hopeful that this will come out in 2025. If not, it'll be my #1 most anticipated book for 2026 instead. And that is my list of most anticipated books for 2025. Let me know if we've got any overlaps in our TBRs, which ones you're most looking forward to. If I've missed any out, let me know. If you've got any recommendations for me, again, tell me. I'm going to try to get my hands on as many of these as I can from NetGalley. I don't want to go too wild on there because I'm really enjoying having a percentage above 50%, but I'm so hyped for almost all of these in one way or another. So yeah, it should be a good year of new releases, I think. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye.